Imagine this. A billionaire lies on his deathbed. 20 of the world's top doctors surround him. Yet not one can explain why his life is slipping away. Machines scream. Time runs out. Every second feels like the last. But then, the quiet housekeeper, invisible to everyone else, notices something the doctors missed. Something small, something chilling, something that changes everything. What she uncovers is not just shocking. It is deadly. Stay with this story until the end, because the truth hidden inside this mansion will leave you speechless. And trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. The billionaire lay in his sprawling mansion, marble floors, golden chandeliers, curtains heavy enough to drown the sunlight. 20 doctors stood in silence. Each one had tried. Each one had failed. Machines beeped in steady rhythm. The man's skin was pale. His lips trembled as if whispering secrets only the walls could hear. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic mixed with something else. Something sharp. Something wrong. Nurses exchanged nervous glances. The billionaire's fortune could summon the best minds in the world, but none of them could explain why his heart kept faltering. The only sound was the slow tick of a grandfather clock. Every second stretched into eternity. And then, a soft rustle. The housekeeper stepped into the room. She carried a silver tray, polished but trembling in her hands. Her eyes scanned the scene. Doctors in pristine coats, machines blinking with meaningless confidence, but her gaze fixed on something none of them saw, on the bedside table. A glass of water. The rim glistened. Too much, almost oily, her chest tightened. She remembered polishing that very table last night. The glass had not been there then. The doctors continued their discussions in technical jargon. But their brilliance blinded them. They had missed what her instincts screamed. Her pulse quickened. The smell in the room was not only antiseptic. It was bitter almond, faint, but undeniable. Her hand shook as she reached for the glass. The surface shimmered like a mirror, and for a moment she thought she saw her own reflection, distorted, as if the water itself was alive. Her breath grew shallow. Her fingers tightened around the glass. The liquid clung to the rim like syrup. Not water, not medicine, something far more deliberate. She lifted it closer. The faint scent grew stronger. Bitter almond, sharp and poisonous. Her eyes widened. She had cleaned enough kitchens to know. She had scrubbed enough stains to recognize the unseen. This was no accident. This was poison. The billionaire moaned softly on the bed. A sound of pain, but also of fear. He knew. Her heart raced. She looked at the doctors. None of them noticed her. They were buried in their charts, blinded by their own certainty. The housekeeper's skin prickled. The chandelier above seemed to tremble. Shadows stretched long across the marble floor, reaching like hands. She placed the glass down carefully. Her mind screamed a single truth. Someone inside this house wanted him dead. The door behind her creaked, slow, uneasy. She turned. A figure lingered in the hallway, watching, unmoving. And though the doctors argued in circles, she could feel it. She was no longer just a servant in this mansion. She was the only witness, and perhaps the next target. The figure in the hallway shifted, just enough for the light to catch a glint of metal. Her throat tightened. A watch or a weapon? The doctors did not notice. Their voices rose louder, arguing over dosages, machines, and failing organs. But she could not look away from that shadow. It waited, silent, patient. The housekeeper's hands grew clammy. Her palms left faint prints on the silver tray. Her ears caught the sound of footsteps, not approaching, not retreating, only pacing, like a predator circling its prey. The billionaire stirred again. His eyes fluttered half open, and for an instant he looked at her. Not at the doctors, not at the machines, at her, as if begging, as if warning. Her stomach twisted. She bent down, whispering softly near his ear. "Sir, someone has done this to you." His lips moved. No sound escaped. Only a tremor. Then faintly one word, "closet." Her chest pounded. The closet? What could be hidden there? The chandelier lights flickered. The pacing in the hall stopped. The silence pressed heavy on her chest. She straightened slowly. Her gaze darted toward the dark wooden doors across the room. Something waited inside. Something the doctors would never see. And she knew. If she opened it, the truth would not only expose the poisoner, it might expose something far worse. Her feet felt like stone. Every step toward the closet echoed across the marble floor. The doctors barely noticed. Their voices tangled in desperate arguments, but she could hear her own heartbeat louder than them all. The closet loomed taller with each step. Dark wood, polished, silent. Her fingers brushed the handle, cold, too cold, as if someone had been holding it only moments before. She hesitated. The billionaire's shallow breath rasped behind her. The figure in the hallway remained still, watching. The air grew thicker. The scent of bitter almond seemed to drift stronger from the closet door. Impossible. The poison was in the glass. Was it spreading? Her hand shook. She pulled the door open. Darkness. Heavy, suffocating darkness. She squinted. Shapes inside. Boxes stacked neatly. Coats swaying slightly, though there was no wind, and then a faint red glow. It pulsed from a small device hidden on the floor, half covered by a cloth. Not medical. Not household. Something electronic. Her breath caught. A recorder. No, not just a recorder. A transmitter. Someone had been listening. Every conversation. Every plan to save him. Every desperate attempt, her blood turned cold. If the poison was meant to silence him, the transmitter was meant to control what came after. Behind her, the door in the hallway creaked again. The figure finally moved. Slow steps. Deliberate. And she realized, by opening the closet, she had revealed the truth. And now, the truth had painted a target on her back. The footsteps drew closer, measured, heavy. Each one thudded against the marble like a warning. The housekeeper froze. Her hand hovered over the device inside the closet. Her mind raced. If she touched it, the figure would know. If she left it, the secret would remain buried. The billionaire's breathing cracked behind her. A wheeze, a cough, a desperate struggle for air. The doctors swarmed around him. None of them noticed the approaching danger. None of them saw the shadow lengthening on the floor. Her throat felt dry. She forced herself to turn. The figure stood just beyond the glow of the chandelier. A man, tall, suit pressed too perfectly for an ordinary servant. His face partly hidden, but his eyes glinted sharp, cold, unblinking. He did not look at the doctors. He looked at her. Only her. Her skin prickled. The way a rabbit must feel when the hawk hovers above. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. Then he spoke, his voice low, steady, too calm. "You should close that door." Her heart hammered in her chest. His tone was not a suggestion. It was an order. But something inside her pushed back. Her instincts screamed not to obey, to hold her ground. The chandelier flickered again, casting jagged shadows across his face. For a brief moment, she saw his smile. Thin, cruel, and then the billionaire suddenly gasped, thrashing weakly on the bed. The machines erupted in frantic alarms. Doctors shouted. Chaos swallowed the room, and in that chaos the man in the hallway stepped forward, closer, close enough that she could see the faint stain on his cuff, a dark smudge. Like residue from powder, not dust, not dirt, something far more deliberate. Her chest tightened. The truth snapped into place. This man was not a stranger. He belonged here, and if he was here, then the poison had come from inside the house. The housekeeper's pulse thundered in her ears. She could not tear her eyes from the stain on his cuff. It told her everything she needed to know. He had touched the glass. He had prepared it. He was the hand behind the poison. The housekeeper's pulse thundered in her ears. She could not tear her eyes from the stain on his cuff. It told her everything she needed to know. He had touched the glass. He had prepared it. He was the hand behind the poison. Her breath caught as recognition flickered. She had seen him before. Not as a shadow in the hallway, not as an outsider, but as part of the house itself. the billionaire's personal advisor, always present, always trusted, the man who whispered in his ear, who controlled the smallest details of his empire. Now he stood only a few feet away, smiling faintly. "You do not understand," he said softly, almost kindly. "This is bigger than him, and bigger than you." The housekeeper's stomach twisted. Her fingers clenched around the closet door. The transmitter at her feet pulsed red, steady, alive. The doctors shouted frantically over the failing machines. The billionaire's body jerked weakly, his chest heaving. They never once turned to see the danger standing behind them. The advisor took another step forward. His shoes tapped the marble like a countdown. "You saw too much," he whispered. "And you smelled it before anyone else. That makes you a problem." Her skin burned with fear. The chandelier flickered again, plunging the room in flashes of shadow and light. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but then a sound stopped her, the billionaire's voice, fragile, cracked, barely audible over the chaos. "Do not trust him." The room froze in her mind. Every muscle in her body locked tight. The doctors kept working, blind. The advisor's smile vanished, and in that moment, the housekeeper knew. The true battle inside this mansion had only begun. The housekeeper's chest heaved. Her mind whirled between fight and flight, but the billionaire's words anchored her. "Do not trust him." The advisor's eyes darkened. His polite mask cracked. He had heard it too. He stepped closer, his voice dropping into a hiss. "Do not listen to a dying man. He is finished. His empire is finished. Do not throw yourself into his grave." The housekeeper forced herself to stand straighter. Her fingers brushed the edge of the transmitter at her feet. It was the proof, the evidence he did not want anyone to find. Her hand trembled, but she gripped it. Cold metal, pulsing red, alive in her palm. The advisor's smile returned, thinner now. "You have no idea what you are holding. That device does not save lives. It ends them." The words sliced through her, chilling her spine. The chandelier buzzed overhead, light trembling as if it too feared the truth. Behind her, the doctors shouted louder. One of them called for adrenaline. Another begged for more oxygen. The billionaire's body convulsed against the sheets. The advisor stretched out a hand, palm open, demanding. "Give it to me," he said. His voice carried the weight of command, the tone of someone used to obedience. Even the doctors, if they had heard, might have obeyed without question. But she did not move. Her heart thundered. Her breath came in short bursts. The marble floor felt unsteady beneath her. Every instinct screamed that if she let the transmitter go, it would be the last choice she ever made. The advisor's face hardened. No smile now, only cold calculation. Then, with deliberate slowness, he reached inside his jacket. The faint metallic scrape was unmistakable. Her blood ran cold. The house was filled with doctors, machines, noise, and yet, in that moment, all she could hear was the sound of danger drawing closer. The housekeeper's breath caught. Her eyes locked on the advisor's hand as it slipped into his jacket. The metallic scrape echoed in her mind like thunder, but before he could draw it out, a sound shattered the room. The billionaire, with the last of his strength, let out a roar of pain that silenced every voice. His frail hand lifted and knocked the poisoned glass from the bedside table. It shattered on the marble, the bitter almond stench flooding the air. Every doctor froze. Every head turned. And for the first time they saw the truth, the shimmering residue, the poisoned water, the glass that did not belong. The advisor's hand froze inside his jacket. Too late, too exposed. The housekeeper held the transmitter high, its red pulse glowing like a warning flare. "This is the proof," she said, her voice shaking but clear. "He has been poisoned. And someone has been listening." Gasps rippled through the room. The doctors stepped back, eyes wide, finally seeing the danger that had hidden in plain sight. The advisor's mask crumbled completely. His calm turned to fury, his hand yanking the weapon free. But before he could raise it, two of the doctors lunged, grabbing his arm, forcing him back. The gun clattered to the floor, spinning harmlessly against the marble. The chandelier's light steadied. The room exhaled. The housekeeper clutched the transmitter to her chest. Her knees shook, but she stood tall. She was no longer just a servant in the mansion. She was the one who saw what 20 doctors missed, the one who turned silence into truth. The billionaire's eyes fluttered open, faint but alive. He looked at her, his lips curving into the smallest, most grateful smile, and in that fragile moment, she understood. The battle was not over, but because of her, the fight for his life had begun.